Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to be doing a very brief stock analysis on Allegiant or Allegiant Travel Company. A lot of the airline stocks have hit 5-year or even 10-year lows, so I have been taking a look at a lot of the different airline stocks because they have been of wide interest in the last few months. So without further ado, here we have Allegiant, ticker symbol ALGT. Here is the chart for year to date. At the beginning of the year, we see it at $174, and then down to its low, it went all the way down to $60, so hitting about a third of its previous high. And this does seem pretty bad compared to a lot of the stocks you've probably been looking at, but if you do compare it to some of the other airlines that went down to a sixth or even lower compared to their previous highs, Allegiant is actually doing pretty well. And they've already come back almost up to $90, and I expect it to keep going up from here as more and more passengers continue to return and to traveling through airlines as they feel more and more comfortable with it. Here is what's a little bit more worrying to me. Even though there is a really good growth opportunity for getting in at the current price, really long term, there's not any really great growth opportunity in my opinion. We can see that just about 5 years ago, it was at $240, and then as we saw just a minute ago, it was only at $170 at the beginning of the year. So even though in the past 5 years, Allegiant has been adding many new destinations and improving their passenger capacity for each of the airplanes, it has not really been well represented in the growth of the stock price. And now taking a look at their financials for the last 4 years, just their revenue and earnings, we can see a really good steady increase in their revenue year over year for the last 4 years and pretty steady earnings at about $200 million in earnings per year. And also taking a look at the last 4 quarters, the last 3 quarters of 2019 are, as to be expected, pretty relatively steady earnings and revenue again, and then as to be expected as well, negative earnings in Q1 of 2020, along with most, if not all, of the other major airlines, and I'm expecting to see even lower earnings in Q2 of 2020. And then, in my opinion, it's going to be marginally positive or negative for Q3. And then I expect at the end of this year, going into next year, 2021, we're going to see things going back to the new norm. And what I mean by this is things aren't going to go back to their previous highs like we saw in January and February of this year for at least a few years. It could take 3 or 4 years for everyone to be completely on board with traveling again, just like things were. But in just a few quarters, I expect to see what's a new norm, and airlines can continue to make steady earnings and revenues again, even though that is going to be a little bit different than what we are used to. And I'm not going to speculate too much as to what that new normal is, but let me know down in the comments if you have any thoughts on that. And interestingly enough, we can see here that Allegiant is committed to serving underserved cities. So most of the major airlines are really looking at Atlanta, Boston, New York City, the really big cities out there, but that's really not what Allegiant aims to do. And I think this is actually a really smart play for really long-term growth for Allegiant. As these cities continue to grow and develop, Allegiant is going to be the top player in those cities, and other airlines are going to have a harder time getting market share in those cities. And Allegiant is continuing to add destinations just about every year. And we're just seeing here really some of the Midwest and the East Coast, but they also have a lot of West Coast destinations. And also an interesting thing about Allegiant is that they have an almost entirely Airbus fleet, or maybe entirely Airbus. I would actually have to check that. But this is really interesting because most United States airlines are committed to Boeing, with the exception of JetBlue, and there may be a couple of other small ones out there. But this is really putting them in a beneficial position because Boeing is having a lot of problems out there compared to Airbus. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that all of the major airlines are trying to improve their passenger capacity, and I believe Allegiant has increased their passenger capacity by 20% since 2015, so they've been doing a really solid job of that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've done videos on all of the major airlines now, so come check out my channel to kind of compare and contrast some of the different ones you may be interested in investing in. Subscribe for more content, and thank you so much for watching.